This anomalous object appears to be a largely unremarkable modern hardcover copy of a non-fiction book entitled A Chronicle of the Devas. The book features black binding and no dust cover, but the title is still clearly legible on the front of the book. The inside cover is signed by the supposed author, but the writing of said author's name is illegible, possibly due to the likely anomalous nature of the author itself. A copyright on the inner cover of the text also suggests it was written sometime during the 20th century. The second someone opens an
1913
authentic
or
copy of
17,
A Chronicle of the
15.
Devas, they'll realize that the book contains a spatial anomaly. There are far more pages within the book than seems possible, given its modest size.
Book of
All
infinite
attempts to
pages.
count the pages have failed, as this number is often subject to change. Readers have expressed feelings of paranoia, unease, and even physical
Is he
nausea
having a
while reading
stroke?
from SCP-140, though some have speculated that this may be due to its graphic and disturbing content as much as any anomalous
Okay,
effect.
what is this?
Still, in spite
Hell
of these
portal
feelings,
and Event
readers
Horizon?
express a fascination in the book and a desire to know and to read more. Studies have shown that 1 in
While
15
I'm
people
throwing up.
handling the book have reported the metallic scent of dried blood wafting off of the pages. In terms of its actual
That
content,
sounds
the
great.
book is an exhaustive history of a now extinct culture known as the Devites, originating in what is now the cold and unforgiving landscape of south-central Siberia. Although the culture
course
naturally
it's
developed
Russia.
over time, there were several factors that remained consistent throughout the lifespan of the Devite
See the Russia or the
civilization,
South Pole.
namely militarism, conquest, ancestor worship, urban centers ruling over large populations,
Sacrifice.
gruesome human sacrifice,
Of
and the
course.
practice of apparently functional thaumaturgic rituals. Thaumaturgic meaning the practice of magic or
Oh,
wonder making
thanks.
in
'Cause
English.
I was just
The
thinking, what does that
Foundation
mean?
noted that a number of relics and creatures produced by the Devite culture that are described in the book would meet the anomalous criteria for containment today. Some of the entities mentioned in the book actually have been contained, such
The
as
fuck is that?
SCP-392, a peach tree that grows living human heads, and was
I've
described
never
as
heard of
having
that
been created
SCP.
by the rituals of the Devites. But the anomalous nature of the book itself doesn't stop at it having an impossible number of pages. When the book is brought into contact with any
He
fluid
killed
capable of
himself?
creating
What the
text,
fuck?
even if, for example, this fluid is already dried up as the text of other books, SCP-140 will absorb the fluid, and the account of the Devite history
Oh,
inside the
it
book will
absorbed
grow
blood
and
too.
alter. Foundation researchers have
Oh,
noted that this effect is
wow.
particularly potent with spilled human blood. Both interestingly and disturbingly, the revisionist expansions to the Devite history are always in favor of the Devites. With each anomalous rewrite, the Devite culture will survive a little longer. It will grow more prosperous. It will worm its way
But
out
they
of wars and
don't
genocides that
exist
previously
anymore.
devastated it. New figures and events will enter the picture, and alterations to SCP-140 seem to have a tangible effect on our reality, as new Devite evidence and artifacts materialize.
Oh,
that match
they
the new
rewriting
in
their
the
own
book.
history.
Even in dig sites which were once thought to be fully exhausted, new Devite-related materials will appear, each time getting slightly closer to recent history. The
Oh
Foundation
shit.
has learned a great deal about the Devites from
They're
the book.
rewriting
They
history.
seemed to be ruled by a theological aristocracy known as the Devas, a kind of religious ruling class that practiced both cannibalism and sorcery.
Jeez.
The
These
Foundation
people are
initially
horrible.
believed the roles of the Devas were passed down through their history, like popes or other religious figureheads in the modern day. But it seems more likely that the Devas were the same group of people, each living unnaturally long lives.
Kind of look like those
Researchers have theorized
vampires
that the
from
evolutionary
Legion.
path of the Deva were
No
so divergent
eyes.
from Homo sapiens that they technically aren't even humans. To Foundation researchers, the accounts in the book are so detailed that it seems as though it had to have been written from direct experience rather than secondary research. It
This is a
graphic
book that
descriptions
I
of
am for
sacrificial
burning.
rites, violent battles, daily life, and the life stories of various noteworthy individuals, including quotes and dates of birth. The unknown author of the text, dubbed SCP-140-A, is an active person of interest in the SCP-140 case and appears to be connected to a number of other deceased individuals. As of this recording, confirmed Devite ruins have been discovered in various locations across Siberia, northern Iran, and Mongolia. Artifacts and traces of intercultural conflict and contact have been discovered as far west as the Carpathian Mountains and as far east as northern Pakistan and China. The Devites really got around, and each time the book grows, they get around just a little bit further. Unsurprisingly, the book was discovered under grisly circumstances. The book was found in the university office of a historian, laying next to his dead body, which sat slumped over the
If that
desk.
rewrites
There were
history,
deep
what if in
lacerations
it,
in his wrist,
and it
which was
writes in their
determined as the cause of
favor?
death, but there was no blood
They could be
located at the crime
ruling
scene.
the world.
The historian had left a faded, handwritten suicide
Like they
note
could have been
reading,
like, oh, we
"I have to know.
destroyed the
I'm sorry." All witnesses were given class
the
A
Roman
amnestics
Empire,
and false
or something,
memories.
you know.
There were further anomalous effects in the 15-meter radius of the book. Namely, all the books, except books on the history of the regions occupied by the Devites, were completely blank. It seemed SCP-140 had leached the text out of all of them. The remaining books were heavily rewritten to incorporate the history of the Davites.
Oh, for the
Even
Mongols,
historians'
yeah.
van
Like
and
what?
some nearby printer ink cartridges were found completely emptied of their ink. Research into the identity
Because the
of
Mongols weren't really
SCP-140A
defeated.
has turned
They
up relatively
just
little information.
stopped
We know that the
conquering
creator of this
people.
book is a wealthy individual.
They
and
spread themselves
self-published all
too thin,
existing
like a lot
copies
of
from a private
empires
printing
back
press. The copies discovered had already taken the ink from surrounding books. While the Foundation has destroyed as many copies as they could find, there is an unknown number still at large. There have been 2 recorded expansion events, even when the Foundation's contained copy hasn't been exposed to any fluids, making this an extremely high-risk anomaly. Foundation researchers have determined that all existing copies of the book present a huge danger to normalcy.
That's crazy.
The fate of the Foundation and the fate of humanity itself. To put things into perspective, every expansion event has postponed the end of the Davite Society just a little longer, which means it's possible that someday in the future, enough expansion events could make it so the Davites never died out at all. Given that the Davites have supernatural powers and possess bloodthirsty,
It seemed like they
conquering
keep dying
imperialist
out, though.
tendencies, if they popped back up in modern times, there would be grave consequences. If this were to happen, even the Foundation's most optimistic projections involve a CK-class restructuring event that irreparably alters the modern world. To learn more, the Foundation hacked into the personal computer of the historian who owned the copy of SCP-140 that later led to his death. In his journal, he says that when he first found the book, it stated that the Davite civilization was utterly destroyed by the forces of Chinese General Qin Kai. Subsequent expansion events have caused huge amounts of material to be added to the book. Now, the Davites survived that war and went on to regroup in Siberia and continue to thrive and grow. Presently, the empire is described as having finally been crushed by Genghis Khan during the early period of his conquests, although the fates of many important persons in several cities remain ambiguous. Worryingly, the groundwork has already been laid for another Davite resurgence, in a frightening display of just how close the Davites are getting to the modern era. The awakening of several anomalous Davite artifacts and creatures at a Foundation dig site caused a large number of personnel casualties. For all future investigations pertaining to SCP-140,
They look like
teams of researchers must be
RoboCops
accompanied by an armed mobile task force. Due to just how easy it is
from
to
that
cause an expansion
2000.
event, which also constitutes a containment breach, and the fact that there are multiple copies still out there and unaccounted for, SCP-140 has earned a Keter containment classification. The Foundation
I
has
would
taken
think so.
extensive
This is
precautions to
concerning.
prevent further containment breaches with SCP-140. No other printed media or fluids, especially human blood, are permitted to be within 15 meters of the book.
Especially
Any expansion events, no matter how minor, must be immediately reported to the site director at Site 76, and any new original copies of SCP-140 discovered must be destroyed immediately. Only the original copy that was found is kept by the Foundation for research purposes. SCP-140 is contained at Site 76 in a sealed vault containing a single desk. Researchers are not permitted to view the original book, only special prepared copies, for fear of anomalous mimetic effects, such as a growing obsession with the text. The book may never
Just
ever
stop
be removed from the vault in which it is
people
contained.
going
If someone attempts
around
to
it.
steal the book, the guards stationed at Site 76 have been authorized to use immediate and deadly force on the perpetrators. The risk of the alternative is just too great. Thanks for watching this file from the SCP Foundation. Be sure to
Like,
subscribe
stop
and leave a comment with
going
what
in
entry you'd
there
like to
or
see
being
next.
around this book. If it causes people to lose their fucking mind and kill themselves or others, like, stop going around the goddamn book. That was interesting because, like, if you have because let's just say, because I was thinking about it when they start talking about is rewriting history, like, oh, the Davites were conquered or were stopped. Their conquering was stopped by whoever in history, and then the book rewrites it, and then it changes actual history to say, oh, actually the Davites didn't lose to that person, they actually killed that person, and it kept going on, but then they lost to somebody else, and then the book is rewritten, and oh, we actually didn't lose to that person, and like you said, it extends until they lose again, they keep losing. And then they rewrite it. It just makes me think, like, what if they did something? I wonder if somebody probably already either made a movie about this or a book or something. But what if they did a Civil War type thing, a U.S. Civil War, where the Confederate lost, and they use some type of, or you could use Nazi, I guess, because we know that. Hitler's kind of obsessed with the occult and stuff like that. But let's just say that let's just keep going with the Civil War. We know that they lost, the South lost the Civil War. If someone did like some, oh, again, like they said, a magic user, so someone used to make a magical text that pulls all the liquid from around it and rewrites history in this book, and in doing so changes history. Like they could do that where, oh, it changes what the South won, you know, the Civil War, and then time, but then you were like, but that'd be so close to modern day. You're like, okay, well, what happened after that? Like did the South get stopped? You know, 30, 40 years later, and then you keep going and keep like, because they even saw like there's artifacts that are becoming newer and newer as they are excavating them, and then they actually found they had like actual living. I forgot the name of the things, Definites, whatever, like at the damn site. So it's like it's like you could just, that's almost like you could break it down, like if someone were to do this to make it more personal, where if I wrote, let's say I did, like I knew I was going to die at a certain age or something like that, I don't know, and I had a book like this in magical, so when I died it would pull ink or blood or force people to kill themselves or kill others, to pull blood, because it seems to prefer blood than anything else, to rewrite my history, to be like, oh, like, I don't know, say I had prostate cancer or something like that, I don't know, and I died of prostate cancer young, like in my, like, let's just say I died at the age I am now, 35. And then it rewrites it and says, oh, actually, I didn't have prostate cancer, something like that. So then I keep living, and then then that would be weird, because the only thing about that is like, how long would that go? You know, because I would still be aging. Because with these people, I don't think it's the same people continuing. It's like it's as far as like just their culture that is surviving. So it's like, oh, the Davites were conquered by and killed. All of them were killed by this particular conqueror. Their book gets rewritten, and then now they killed this person, and their civilization continues. So it's not necessarily the exact same people, because I'm assuming they still age, but their culture continues until they're stopped again by another group of people later on in history, and then the book gets rewritten again from that point, and say, oh, actually, they stopped though. They didn't stop them. The Davites conquered them as well. So then it keeps it, but it's like, it's not an individual, like the same Davites are alive when that book was written. It's a continuation of the culture than anything else, you know. So I mean, it could be, I guess you said, like slavery in Africa. You'd be like, well, whatever, like the kingdoms that were conquered and enslaved, and then people were taken away. They would rewrite a book and say, hey, actually, that didn't happen. And the people of Africa stopped that from happening. And then they continued up until a certain point in time where, I don't know, somebody else came and conquered them, and then the book was rewritten again, and then they killed them, and then continue on and on, you know. But that's interesting. Like, I'm curious if that could be done, because it's another SCP that kind of is like this, where it's that, I forget what it's called and the number, but it's like the I forget, but it's a library. I can't remember I think they said it could be the Library of Alexandria or something like that, but it's pretty much a library where every person life is written in the books in this library, and it just continues on. Like, it's it's almost impossible to, you know, walk through this library. Library, it literally like thousands and thousands of miles. It's literally every person's life in a book in these library. So, and I remember in that where they could rewrite a book and say, "Oh, this person was actually born a female," or something like that instead of a male. Or I know in that they tried to rewrite and said this person actually died of cancer, and they said, "Oh, this person actually didn't die of cancer. They didn't even develop cancer," and they popped back into existence in the library. And then the person like went crazy. Oh no, I'm sorry, not in the library. They popped back into existence. I think it was at the place they died in. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was a D class. And well, he maybe didn't die of cancer. Maybe he died like some SCP killed him or something. And then he started like freaking out, like what is happening? And like I want to go back, and I want to go back and stuff like so. I'm like, oh, you want to go back to what? You know, they were like, is there an afterlife? Like we want to go back to? And then I think he or she, I can't remember what they did, but they end up just dying, like having a stroke or something, or a seizure and dying. So it kind of reminds me of that old lady in that book where it was I remember when they first went in there was a person in there who had been there for, I can't remember how long. I think he had been there for like 10,000 years or some shit. He had been there a long time. He's like the protector of or the guardian or something of the library. He's, oh, now you are the guardian of the library. And apparently he had found his book and saw, you know, like it gets the last passage, the last sentence was like he finds the library. Well, so he would write, I guess like I survive another day every day in the book. Or you would think he just said, I survive another 2 weeks, or instead of just saying a day. And that's how he lived an extended lifespan, because he just kept writing, I survive another day, survive another day, survive another day, until he was like, okay, well, the SCP Foundation here, you're the guardians of the library or whatever. So then he didn't write it the next day, and he just died. I don't remember how, I can't remember if they said he just aged rapidly or if he just died, you know. But kind of reminds me of that, except way more sinister and like, and just like this is more personal to like a particular civilization who wants to prolong their existence and their very horrible customs as far as like the magic use and the torturing and the killing and the cannibalism and the human sacrifice and all that shit. But they want to keep going, so they just, the book rewrites itself, like, oh, we keep doing our thing until we are the dominant species. And then they're not even human, they're like another species. I don't even know if they're like a variant, like, you know, like Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Like we're basically this, like we're two different types of human species, but we're close enough to where we're able to breed with one another and have children. But it's like this thing could have evolved on Earth and be completely different than us, you know, a different species. Maybe they are similar enough to where we could breed with each other, you know. But that was interesting. I like that. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction. One, if you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're here. Hit that bell when you're notified and upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.